Hey. Okay, well, thank you for taking the time to listen to our first podcast. My name is Carol, and my co host here is.
Kara?
And we've been friends since we were about 13 years old, so a very long time. We won't disclose how long that is because we don't like ageism on our podcast. But um, like I said, we've been friends for about 13 years now. And even though we're kind of polar opposites, we also have a lot of the same interests. And one of the same interests is true crime, especially I would say me, just because I have no life and like to look up true podcasts during my true crime stuff during my spare time. So basically, I like to tell Kara a lot about my true crime love, and it was Kara's idea, randomly texting me that we had to start a crime podcast because we're millennials and it's COVID, and what else do you do during a pandemic and being a millennial? So we just thought it made sense. And yeah, so we kind of wanted to kind of go over our first case that we thought was interesting. And the interesting thing with this case is that, everyone knows who did it. Everyone kind of probably knows why. But the interesting part of this case is that there's so much footage that goes around with it that we thought would be a good one to kind of react to in a way. So kind of me explain the case to Kara. She kind of has an inkling of the case, but she doesn't really know all the ins and outs of it. And we just thought it would be fun to drink wine and talk about how this case unfold and all the maybe it's the psychological factors that come along with it. There is a Netflix series or Netflix movies on it right now, so I'm sure that you've either checked it out or might be interested in checking it out as well. We have yet to check it out. It definitely should eventually. I heard it's pretty good. But till then, we just thought it'd be kind of interesting to look at the footage ourselves. Right?
Yeah. And like you said, there's so much footage of literally everything about this case. So when you said, like, you've probably done a lot more research than I have, so I've only seen like a little bit of it, but it is kind of pretty cool, I guess, just, present day, how many cameras there are just everywhere, and that we're able to kind of go back and like watch this footage rather than just hearing someone else's I guess like recounting what happened. And I find that that's really cool because then we can kind of draw some of our own conclusions from the actual footage.
Definitely. And I think the Frederick PD also did such a great job of using their body cameras and just kind of shows like the importance of using body camera now that we do get all this evidence and everything is clear cut, and we do have that ability to put into trial as well as give it to the public if necessary. And then we're talking like they have footage from phone calls they make to Chris as the police, the first time they come to Chris's house. We have footage of him getting rid of the bodies. We have footage of him being arrested, footage of all his interrogations, even them going canvassing the neighborhood looking for Shanann and her children that were the victims in this case. We even have footage of that. So when I'm telling you that they have footage of everything, they have footage of everything. And I don't know if that's going to be a common occurrence going forward, because like I said, I watch a lot of interrogations. I don't know if I would say that on a first date, but I watch a lot of interrogations in my free time. And a lot of the times I'll see in the comments, and I want to comment myself, is that the quality just usually 9 times out of 10 sucks. Like you can't really see the facial expressions with as a psychology with a psychology background. I find that really interesting. And like you can't really hear them that well sometimes, and it looks like they recorded it on a Nokia phone. So with this footage, most of it's pretty clear. Most of it's, you can see usually the facial expressions, and, you even get the text messages that Chris sent to Shanann, as well as his girlfriend. And yeah, so you just basically get the whole different perspectives. And I think that's very, very interesting. And you almost get to feel like you're watching it in real time, which might sound morbid, but also fascinating in a strange way. But yeah, so basically to give a little background, I know we kind of jumped ahead, but a little background on the case, Kara, is We're trying for our podcast name is Here's the Thing. So, Kara, here's the thing. We're still working on it, so we'll see. But so basically, which I'm sure most of you are aware if you're listening to this podcast, is we're going over the case of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts. And Shanann is the mother of Bella and Celeste, and Chris Watts was their husband as well as their father. And first of all, I just want to say off the bat, this case is just extremely sad, and there's really no other place to put it. Just to give you a little background of Shanann. Shanann was, I think she was 34 at her time of her death. I could be wrong, but I believe she was around 34. And she was just a great mother. She had a business at a MLM with what was called Thrive. And just being perfectly transparent, like I know me and Kara both are not the most, I don't want to say like we're anti MLMs, but it's just not something that we promote just because it is really hard to get on top of sales and you do have to jump through a lot of hurdles, and a lot of times a lot of people end up spending more money than they make. But that doesn't change the fact that I believe that Shanann was 100% in for the good interest of her family as well as her friends, and she was really good at it. She actually made quite a bit of money out of it. I think they believed she was making like $70,000 a year, which is great. I believe they gave her a really nice car. I think it was a Mercedes. I could be wrong. But she was just doing very well. She was a big people person. She loved people. Everyone that met her, besides maybe Chris Watts' mom, said only nice things about her. Like, she was maybe kind of known as a little high strung, and maybe a little bit, I don't know, from my perspective, and this is no one said this, but just from what I've seen of the footage, she seemed a little maybe anxious, like always trying to like have things perfect, and just really wanted a good environment for her family, and worked really hard to get the American dream. I do know, from my understanding, is that they did live a little bit above their budget, but 90% of America does. That's just America. So, she was just seemed like a really hardworking, wonderful mom. Her two children, Bella and Celeste, I know one of them had, I believe, diabetes, so she had medication she had to take. But other than that, they were two sweet girls that were really close to both their parents from the footage I viewed. And just a great family. And then Shanann was also pregnant with their third child, and he was going to be a little boy. Then we have Chris Watts. Chris Watts before he met Shanann, he was making this is just from my understanding, he was making like $30,000, $40,000. He wasn't making a huge salary. Smart guy, but he worked in like, I think mechanics or something like that in a car repair shop. And Shanann was having a lot of health problems, so he met her through. Am I talking too much?
No, not at all.
Okay. Sorry.
Providing a lot of background for the thing, but no, I think this is important because I didn't know that. I didn't know what he was doing before. But I think it is important how they got together, because that seemed to be really important to Shanann too. Because from what little I know about it, she was even telling a lot of her followers about that was one of the endearing qualities of Chris, how they met and how she kind of started to really fall in love with him and what she saw in him in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was, so he was kind of known as an introverted guy. So kind of probably the opposite of Shanann, which, and a lot of times opposites attract. Yeah, like I said, we've been best friends for really long time, and we're not alike for most things. And, yin and yang is always a good thing. But Chris was just kind of known as more introverted, easygoing. No one ever said anything bad for me. He wasn't the creepy, person down the street where people try to get away from, antisocial in that aspect. He just was more introverted and kind of a chill guy. And Shanann was going through some health problems. I believe she had, what is that called?
Is it lupus?
Lupus, or also fibromyalgia, I think. Right?
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, and so it was an autoimmune thing. And and I think a lot of times the problems with those diseases is people don't really see it, and so they don't really believe it. And so I think she was also going through a lot of probably like mental anguish and like just was probably tired. Like just seems like a really hard time. And I believe Chris reached out to her through Facebook Messenger, and she didn't really want to give him a shot, and she was kind of hesitant, and then finally she was like whatever, and they went to, I believe their first date was a movie. I know a lot more than I should about this case, but like, I know their first date, I know their first kiss.
Number 12 in 2016.
Right. And I'm sure there's probably people listening to this like, no, you were wrong. Like, because people are really attached to this case, which is good for, like we said, it's like, you know, we know so much about it that people just got really emotionally invested. And plus, it was just a horrific thing that happened. But basically, um, remind
You were
me.
just saying to a movie was like their first date.
Yeah, so that was their first date. And they went to a movie. Apparently, Chris told the detectives that he didn't really dress up that much for it. Like, he just felt kind of like you think. And I believe after the date, I believe Shanann like fell asleep on him or something because she was sick. And like basically at the end, Shanann thanked him or like really appreciated him for being there. Like when they first started dating, like he went all to her hospital appointments, her doctor's appointments, like was always there, was helping her with everything, and just was like really there to pick up the slack for her and really just be there as a supportive boyfriend. And like I said, she really wasn't looking for anything serious, but it feels like Chris kind of filled a void that she was looking for at that time.
So we also just want to give Shanann Watts, I guess, the opportunity to explain how she was prior to everything, or how she met Chris and her perspective on meeting Chris, and where she was in a vulnerable place prior to everything happening and then forming their relationship. So just to take a quick look, here is the voice of Shanann Watts, who's going to give a little bit more details of um, the beginning of the relationship with Chris Watts.
I had that to show for it, you know? And then I met Chris. My health challenges happened. I was diagnosed with some health challenges, and then I met Chris. I met Chris because of those health challenges. My friend sent me a friend suggestion for him. It was actually his cousin's wife, and I deleted it. I was like, I'm not interested. I don't want to meet a guy. Bye-bye. So I deleted her friend suggestion for him. I was diagnosed 2 months later, and I went through one of the, I would say, darkest times of my life because things just got scarier, worse. I thought my life was crumbling underneath me, and I didn't know which way to turn. I didn't have a lot of friends at the time because a lot of my friends, the friends I did have, I lost because they didn't understand that I looked perfectly fine, and I felt horribly inside. Horribly. I felt a lot of discomforts, a lot of aches, a lot of bad moods. I met a lot of friends online, and in the part where I gave up on everything, I quit my job. It was kind of temporarily, but kind of quit my job of 9 years. I just said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You don't understand me. You don't understand what's going on in my life. And I quit. And I got a friend request from Chris. I was in a really, really, really bad place. And I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook. And I was like, oh, what the heck? I'm never going to meet him. Except, one thing led to another. And 8 years later, we have 2 kids. We live in Colorado. And he's the best thing that has ever happened to me. And because of my health challenges, because I got so sick, I let him in. And he only knew me at that time. He knew me at my worst. And he accepted me. And, through your vows, like through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So with that being said, know that no matter what, and I can go on forever with this story, like, but I want to cut it short so I don't bore you guys. Know that no matter how hard life gets, no matter how low you feel, know that deep down, like in your heart, that there's a purpose, there's a reason for everything. We may not understand it at the time. It's hard to understand it at the time. I'm telling you, when I met Chris, I pushed him away. I gave every excuse for him to run. I mean, I gave him an out every single day. I gave him an out. And if you guys know my story with Chris, you know I gave him an out. I mean, he went to my colonoscopy. I tortured him. I rejected him. I pushed him away time and time and time again. But when I canceled dates last minute, because that's how life is with my health challenges, you cancel things last minute, and it's hard for people to get. It's hard for me to understand. But he stuck around, and he stuck around because he was the one for me, and he is amazing, and I can't tell you how wonderful he is. But on top of all of that, when I got sick, I reached out to support groups online, and I built relationships with so many people that have similar health challenges or the same, and we've built a relationship stronger than some of the relationships I've known for over 20 years, some of them that I've known over my whole life. And these people are in my life for a reason. I met these people for a reason, and Mandy Aikman is...
So, they began seeing each other, and then from my understanding, they moved pretty quickly. Chris got a job at Ardeco.
Anadarko.
Anadarko, thank you. Anadarko. And it apparently paid a lot better. From my understanding, he was making about 70-ish, I believe, and they bought a beautiful home. What they said is a little bit outside their budget, but they bought a home, they moved to Colorado, and they started their family. So that's kind of the time where we're at the timeline. So just to give you a little background of maybe what Shanann's perspective was before everything happened, and not really Chris's, because then we'll definitely get into Chris's perspective with the footage. But Shanann was very, let's put it this way, kind of anxious about the relationship. She was worried about it in the sense of like she felt like Chris was kind of being absent. He lost a lot of weight recently with Thrive, as well as like being really careful what he was eating. So he was like, I don't want to say feeling himself, but like, he was appreciating his hard work. And then, Shanann just felt like he was just being more and more distant. And I think she started thinking that he was cheating on her. There wasn't any confirmation or anything like that, but when a woman's worried, they start thinking about stuff like that. So basically then what happened was she went on a trip for Thrive, for her company that she worked for. And I guess like the big head honchos, her and her friend, which is a big part of this story. Her friend, Nicole Atkinson, is like her best friend in Colorado. She has a son and she's married.
Not mess with best friends.
Huh?
I said, do not mess with best friends.
Yes. And she's kind of like, I don't know, for me, and just from like the footage I've watched and the comments I've read, she's just kind of like the hero in the story because she acted so quickly and she just knew something was wrong so quickly, and she just took, I don't know, I just feel like everyone deserves a friend like her because she was just on it, and she just knew. So
yeah, because with what little I know about the case, like Nicole is totally like the badass, and I feel like the savior of the whole case, because if she hadn't acted so quickly and just like knew something was up, didn't feel right, wasn't adding up, and she didn't just like follow her gut, because it's really hard to take the action that she did without really being sure, because like otherwise you could look really bad and you waste a lot of people's time. But man, like I don't know, I just want to say like Nicole is just such a badass, and I really hope other best friends out there like really kind of take this And if something doesn't feel right, really standing up for your best friend, because even if you like risk looking a little foolish, like it really paid off in this case, because I think I feel like probably a lot more could have happened, and it would have been harder to prove.
Right, exactly. And also just trusting your gut, like, and just being like not taking no for an answer. And like in the footage we'll view in a minute, like she just was, yeah, she just took action really quick and did not care what anyone said or did. And I just think sometimes, and I hope this doesn't sound like biased or anything like that, but I just feel like women have an intuition like that. And I just think it's ingrained in us when we know something's wrong and we can't explain it, but something's wrong and you better listen to it. So yeah, she's definitely badass. So basically her and Shanann went to that Thrive convention, and they got home around 2, and during the convention the whole time her friend said that she was super worried, she wasn't eating, like her blood pressure was low, like I believe I don't know if she fainted, but I think she like came close to it. Like they were all worried about her health because she was super stressed, and she was just worried about Chris being, having issues. And prior to going to the event, I think she realized, I believe before going to the event, she thought like they were just having issues. And then like during the event, like Chris basically said, we're done. Like, and so that's why she was like, what is going on? I have to get home. Like, she's having these anxieties, like, you're just like telling us I am pregnant with your child, like on all these concerns and all these issues. And, she's clearly upset. So she gets home at 2 a.m. Nicole drops her off, and she gets into the house. And then from what I'll tell you is that by 5 a.m. when Chris leaves for work, or around that time, she passes away, or she's murdered, as well as her 2 adorable little girls. So, the sad thing is like, he took his little girl swimming before all this. Like, he took them to a birthday party. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how could you just be like, let's go to a birthday party and know what you're gonna do? Like, it's just, I don't know.
And that part even just makes me wonder, was he doing that just to make himself look better, to make it look like things were, like, he looked to make himself look normal before it happened? Because, like, I still don't really know, like, when he started thinking about or like what he knew before he actually did it, or how long before. Right. But part of me just wonders, like, was that really like for the kids, or was that just so that he would look more normal and have witnesses, like,
I think that day? You know what, Kara? I think everything he did in life, not even just to like cover up for what he did in this case, I think everything he did in life was fake and to put on a show. I don't think he's one of those people that, like, I think he just faked being a person. Like, I think he just went through the motions and mimicked people and we'll get into more later with his texts and everything, of just how he's trying to act like I'm a normal human. I have friends. I have this. Like, I'm so concerned. Like, I think there was one thing where he's like, I wanted to have the girls coming up to me. Like, the way he responds to distress and your loved ones being hurt isn't normal. It's like robotic, but he says the right things. It's like the talented Mr. Ripley. It's not, it's weird. Like, I don't, yeah. It's whatever. So, what we're going to start off with is having Nicole come to the house and be concerned about her friend, and basically she calls the police. Now, at the beginning of this, she did contact Chris, and Chris kind of like ignored her, or whatever the case was. And then when the police contacted him to see if they could come in, when they were really concerned about her, he was like, oh, 40 minutes, I'll be there in 40 minutes. Like, obviously, like, he didn't want them in the house while he wasn't there. And so this leaves us to Nicole coming in, and basically, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Nicole was supposed to pick up Shanann for a doctor's appointment. And Nicole also always checks, like, after a big conference, she always like calls everyone and is like, that was involved, like, hey, let's go market, let's like do this and blah blah blah. And like, she didn't get a text.
Yeah, they're all like hyped after the event and they want to like collaborate and like kind of launch themselves off that momentum to like go and do things.
Right, right, exactly. And they, and then that's just like how Shanann was. She was very like, let's do it, like very go go go. And when her friend didn't get a text, she even said like it wasn't even just like with the doctor's appointment. It was just like there was no text. Like she already knew something was off. Like, and then she obviously she was supposed to pick up her friend, and like she saw her shoes were still there, like the kid stuff was still there, so through the window, so she knew something was wrong. So she tried to contact Chris. Obviously, Chris was not helpful, and then so finally he contacted the police. She contacted the police, and the police came, and then it all escalated from here. So what we're going to show you is actual body cam footage of the police coming in to investigate the home before anyone kind of knew anything. And like I said, this is like early in the morning. It's like I don't know the exact time, but it's definitely like this all happens like within a few hours. Like, they say I've researched that they said that when Chris took his IQ test, I guess they have to take it in prison, that it's like close to like 140 or something. It's like really freaking high. I'm like, you have to be like, how are you so stupid but have such a high IQ? Like, I don't know if it's something where it's like you're so smart that you just think you're so smart that no one else is smart, or you just are smart maybe in other ways and just not socially. I don't know what the case is, but part of me, he confirmed it in a jailhouse interview that it was like 140 something, and then someone else confirmed it. But I'm like, it's just like you've made so many mistakes in this case. It's weird. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Because I've definitely seen two different cases. Because I'm in engineering, and I've definitely seen really smart people that just seem to not be able to function around other people. So it's like they either lack like that common sense or just the ability to like socialize or whatever. Those things just it doesn't click in their brain, but they're very intelligent. And I could
Right.
see them looking either very suspicious or whatever, just because like they're also very concerned about looking normal because they've probably been ridiculed before that how they act is not how just a chill person would act or whatever. But I've also seen cases like even in my own family, like having someone that is really intelligent, but it's like they take it to this like cynicism level where they don't really have a good job, they don't have a good career, they don't go to school because it's like they think they're above all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just turns into this really weird thing where it's like then they kind of lash out at the world because like they know how smart they are and they deserve better, and then they don't like have it because they don't want to just like I don't want to say play the game, but they just don't want to like be maybe a normal like functioning person. And so I don't know, so because I don't know Chris Watts obviously like personally by any means, but I've at least seen those two like extremes of really smart people and how they just will not like function well for some reason.
Right, exactly. And like that's exactly it. And I think like it's either like and I think there's some people that like are just like innocent in the sense of like they just don't know how to socialize well because they are so smart or whatever the case may be. And then, like you said, some of them just think they have this arrogance with them and they just feel like they deserve everything without actually putting into work. I don't know what Chris's case is. Chris is weird because it's not like he worked hard. Like he had hard jobs. Like from my understanding, he never was violent to Shan. It's just it's a weird. It's not a weird case in the sense of who did it. It's just a weird case of who did it. You know what I mean? Like, and I get that he had an affair, and that's like motive, but at the same time, like his personality just seems. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let's go into the footage. So, let's see. So, what we're gonna show here is I'm gonna move it up a little bit because, like we said, there's so much footage that there's just no way we can get through it all, without it. Now, when I'm gonna show this to you, Kara, is it's gonna be Chris Watts coming in, and what I always find interesting about this part is just like the look he gives Nicole, and it's like for a split second, and the only reason I noticed it was because someone mentioned it in a YouTube comment, but he just gives like Nicole like evil dagger eyes, like basically like saying like screw you, you ruined this for me. Also the guy, the kid in the red shirt is Nicole's son, just so you know. And let's see. But yeah, he wouldn't give them a code to get into their house. So yeah, that's Chris's truck. That's his work truck. So that he doesn't own that. That's his work.
Scott, how you doing? How's it going? So this is the only vehicle she would have?
But did you see the look, Kara?
Yeah.
Okay. Like he just like rawr. Like
And it's like he goes to shake the cop's hand first when it's like he knows this lady.
right.
I don't know. I find that to be weird too, that it's like someone is so concerned about your wife that they called the police, or your family, your whole family.
Right.
And they called the police, and you don't even like go up to them first. Like he goes and he shakes the cop's hand and then just kind of like looks at her and then opens up the garage. I don't know. I find that like just really weird.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not normal behavior.
She would drive? Okay.
And see how he checks the car.
That's me. Yeah. The neighbors went and checked his cameras and they said that a white car drove away at 1. It was me though. That was me. I dropped her off.
Okay, so this part I want to highlight because Nicole, and I just want to highlight because I think it's interesting in a psychological perspective, but they're talking about footage that the neighbor found, which we'll get into it in a minute, of Chris moving things in, of Nicole, of 2 a.m. footage. And as soon as, they mention it, she goes, that's me. Like, that was me. Like, you know what I mean? She wasn't like trying to like, oh yes, I did this at this. Like, she was just like, that was me. I dropped her off, like blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was just right out of it because she was worried about her friend, and it wasn't any trying to find excuses to say about it. Like, that's how a normal innocent person reacts. Do you know what I mean? And then we can compare it later to the way Chris handles it later on, you know?
Right, and I feel like she even has him on speakerphone specifically so the cop can hear both sides of the conversation.
Right.
So this is Nicole chasing down this footage too, right? Like, this isn't even like the cop hasn't gone over to the neighbors or anything like that. This is like Nicole taking the initiative and like trying to find out if there's any footage around.
Yeah, exactly. She was just running around, and her son is also a badass too. He actually finds the cell phone, which we'll see in a minute, but like I'm like, you're a badass girl. Like, you and your family, they're just like, we're ready. Like, so anyway, but I hate, like, just put a preference here. I hate like laughing about certain things because it's not a movie, it's real life, but like, when we're talking about it, it's like we're, many degrees away from the situation. So I hope people don't take offense to us reacting to certain things like that.
Definitely. We're trying not to be like too depressing, but we totally acknowledge just how evil this whole thing is. But I also just totally want to give props to this lady because I don't know, you and I are best friends, and I know that we've joked before about like, what we would do if like, something happened But it's
Right.
just one of those things where, like, I'd like to believe I would have the courage that this lady had, which is one of the reasons why, like, even if we, like, laugh every now and then, like, I really do just want to give props where props are due to some people, because, like, this, like, took just a lot of courage and a lot of initiative. She could have looked, like, looked really dumb, or, like, she wasted a lot of people's time. And in my opinion, though, it, like, paid off, and she was really just trying to, like, fight for her friend at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I think she, yeah, um, she was a badass. So let's move on to. All right, can you still see my screen?
Yep.
There.
That was the last action on my camera.
Okay. That's throughout the whole day, or?
Besides Chris leaving?
Well, yeah.
What about is there any way you can look for the day during the daytime?
What? Frantic. The girls' car seats are in the car too, so she left with the friend. She would have took the car seats.
See, again, it's her friend is like already being like, if she did this, she would have done this. If she did this, she would have. You know what I mean? Like she's already like honing in on it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I don't think we talked about this before, but so I guess I'll just like mention that I think at this point Chris called into the schools to say that his kids weren't coming in today.
Yeah.
Almost like he didn't even know about his own wife's like doctor's appointment.
Right.
Because he didn't really like anticipate all of this like happening.
Right.
I almost feel like it's just obviously like her best friend knows her so well and knows like everything that's going on more than like Chris does, and I feel like it's really obvious when you like put it in those terms. Like he was trying to cover his tracks and then he just didn't.
He failed. And I love it how he's running in there. So also we have to think about at this point, he's in the house and he still hasn't let them in.
Like, what he's doing.
That's like me, you coming to my apartment and me being like, "Which 1 second, Karen?" Like cleaning the apartment real quick.
They're
blanket they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere without them.
Good. Nothing else appears to be missing though, just stuff you'd take for a quick trip.
So in this, Chris makes it apparent that Shanann took stuff for a quick trip, which obviously unfolds really quickly. So just so people understand, if they don't understand, is Chris's alibi through this is that they got in a fight at like 2 a.m. About wanting to break up after she got back from her flight after they had sex, apparently. So they got in a fight, and then Shanann said in the morning she was going to take the kids. This is Chris's story. She was going to take the kids to a friend's house. Didn't say who, just was going to take her to a friend's house, and that's where Chris thought she was. So that's why he's trying to like play the story, and I think that was going to buy him some time. So yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. I guess I think maybe I blanked out for a second when you were talking, but did you say that, or did you mention about how he was like telling people or like telling the cops that she like only told him that she was going to be on a play date or something?
Yeah, I thought she said she was going to like go to a friend's house, but maybe it was a play date.
Okay, yeah, because it's like he keeps saying, oh yeah, like she told me that she was going on a play date, but I don't know with who or for how long or anything like that. And so
Right.
It just kind of, and then her friend was like, who or like what friend? And then like I don't know things, and it was just like he doesn't even know like basic things, but he's like, oh, just a play date, and it's like you called the school to say your kids weren't coming in because your wife was taking them on a play date when she had a doctor's appointment, and so like I feel like her friend was already just like, no, motherfucker.
Right. It's like, you're an idiot. Like, nothing made sense. Like, you changed the story, it just didn't make sense. And first of all, it's like, I don't know, just nothing made sense on that. So, let's continue. So this part, and Kara, if I'm stopping too much, let me know. But this part is they're talking about the phone. So the teenager, Nicole's son, finds the phone, and they find the phone in the freaking couch. So it was clear that Chris ran up there, threw her phone in the couch cushion, and was like, "Oh dear, her phone's there." Like, he didn't even hide it well. Like,
yeah, because I mean, that's another thing where it's just like, okay, for this lady, her phone, I think they use the term like this is her lifeline at some point. And it really is because just of how, like, you know, she tries to do a lot of live videos for Facebook and stuff like for the business basically. So she has a lot of her personal life and her business stuff because that's how she makes connections with people and sells stuff or whatever. So it's just like,
right.
I don't know, for the phone to be stuffed in a couch, like, it almost just doesn't even, like, that almost doesn't even make any sense. Because, like, I'm sure people have lost things in their couch before, but how many people go an hour without, like, knowing where their phone is and it's stuffed in their couch? Like, I don't know. I just feel like for her to be gone, her kids to be gone, and her phone to be stuffed in the couch, like, is just super suspicious when he was in the house for so long.
Yeah, exactly. So, full of shit, sir.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works This Is Her Lifeline. So I think that's going to start blowing up.
I'm sorry, but, like, right here, her friend, like, fucking knows. And I can't imagine standing in her shoes, but you just see her, like, hands, like, she's, like, shaking her hands off, and she's putting her hands on her face, because she just, like, she knows. Like, it just feels like she's about to be sick, almost, because, like, that phone being stuffed in the couch for her, like, on top of everything else, just confirms that it's just, like, what she's, like, suspected this whole time, like, the worst, like, has happened. She doesn't know, like, what it is, but she knows, like, her friend, like, is either in incredible danger or, like, something even worse has happened to her. And so I can't imagine, like, being her right now, but everything about the way she's acting is completely opposite from how Chris is acting. Even the whole time, every interview, every interrogation, every just regular, like, standing here looking at her phone, and not like I expect everyone to act exactly the same, but just, like, looking at the two of them and how different they are is just, like, really incredible to me.
Yeah, no, completely. I think again with this whole case, it's so interesting to see it on a psychological or behavior aspect of, like, comparing certain people of how they act and how they deal with it. Even, which we didn't include in this podcast just because, like I said, so much footage, but there's even footage of Chris's coworkers who, the way they, you know, were brought when they were told what happened and that Chris did it and everything, the way they reacted was so much more genuine and real in comparison to Chris, and it was his own children and his own wife, you know, and his unborn child. So it's just so weird to watch it unfold in real time. And one time I watched an interrogation. I think it was Jodi Arias's interrogation, and the detective told her, he's like, look, he's basically was trying to level with her, and it was like, I know you did this. Like, there's just no doubt. And Jodi was like, well, how do you know? And he's like, there's just a way a person acts. Like, we just know. Like, I can't describe it. It's just, there's a way that you act. And she was like, the dumbass was like, well, you know, can you tell me? And she's like, I'm not going to change the way I'm acting. It's like, well, no, but, like, I don't know. It's just like, you can tell when someone is responding to a situation. And I know everyone says, like, people react differently to different situations, but there's multiple ways to react to a situation that are appropriate, and then there's, like, one way that's just not appropriate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
It was shut down.
Yeah.
Also, what I was going to say here,
I don't know where Pasco is.
It used to be 2385 and now.
what I was going to say here is that notice how, like, the son and the and Nicole aren't getting near Chris. Like they're circling him. You know what I mean? And then when someone like if someone's like upset, if a family friend is upset, like you're like, oh, it'll be okay. Like you're around them, like you know what I mean? Like you're also trying to comfort them. No one's trying to comfort Chris. Like, and it's been like 10 minutes. Like no one's trying to comfort that man.
Well, and even just like on another like note about like how different they're acting, like Nicole is like on the phone with people, like kind of how I was, I guess, commenting about how like she was on the phone with the neighbors, like already trying to figure out like what footage they had or whatever. And it's like, and here Chris is like, he claims that he's called everyone like at some point in this day, but I'm over here just like, I don't know how like you're not like also kind of acting the way that she's acting, where it's like just on the phone calling whoever you can or texting whoever you can, like trying to like figure, because she's clearly not in the house. So it's just like I don't know how he wouldn't be coordinating with Nicole at that point, because I could even see where it's just like, oh, Nicole, have you called like these people, or maybe have you called this person, like they're not even like talking, and which I definitely don't blame Nicole by any means, but I guess I'm just pointing it out like as a weird thing about Chris, because it's just like if that were like if my husband was missing and that was my husband's best friend, I would be just like, who have you called? Like, who do we need to, like, have you tried this person? Would you mind calling them? I'm gonna check the house. Or I don't know. It's just like there's just so many weird things about how like he's acting.
Right. Exactly. It's just so many. All right. Let's see.
What's the baby's due date?
1/31/19.
Also, this is so random, but at 23:32, we already passed it, but there's a little kid that people think is like the ghost of Cece or Celeste. Just want to squash that. That's I know it's so random. We could take this out, but so many people think that's a ghost. It is not. It is Nicole's daughter. Just throwing that out there. I see that like every comment that they think it's like the child's ghost, and it's a live child.
And if you want to see Nicole's daughter, she's standing with them in the driveway at the beginning of this.
Yes.
So, like, if you wanted to really compare, because, like, I hadn't seen that before, but I know, like, because I only, like, was focusing on the fact that she had her son there, but he's really obvious, but, like, she does have a young girl with her as well.
Exactly. I just wanted to throw that out there because I do, and it's not like we don't believe in, like, supernatural things, but, you know, it was just a little girl.
From a laptop, or is it just from the phone?
What about your baby?
I tried it for logins or different suppliers.
It's not a joint account.
It's a joint account, but like she controls all of it. Like she doesn't let me do the finances because
So this is the other thing I wanted to point out about this. He doesn't know the passwords to his bank accounts. That's how much this man didn't wear the pants in the family. Like, and again,
like, or he's just like, he doesn't want, like, he's trying to stall them to be able to see his bank accounts. I don't know, but like, yeah, either way, I'm just like, wait, what?
You don't know your, and this didn't happen that long ago. We have face recognition. Like, I don't even put my password in to look at my bank account. I just put my face up and then I have my bank account. Like, it's weird. Like, you don't have access to your bank. Like,
yeah, it's fishy.
pretty horrible back in the day, so she just kind of handles all that. She does it. I have the apps on my phone, but I don't have her login to get into it.
Okay.
Can you log into your account though?
I can. No, I don't have a laptop, but she has the one downstairs still. But her login is different. Her login, I don't know her login. Like I know the password, but I don't know her login. User every single week. It's always the same password, 4281915 capital letters. But it's just a matter of getting the login.
Usually the person will show that to me.
Right, if she's getting gas or...
Yeah, somewhere.
Nicole's face is like, bullshit, mama.
She's so, like, look how, like, far away she is from him. She's like COVID before COVID. Like, she will not go near him. Like, and I don't blame him. Like,
yeah,
she's disgusting. Or not she, I'm sorry, he's disgusting. But again, like, notice no one is comforting him. They're just all just staring at him. Like, he can't think that they think he's a victim. He just can't.
Yeah. Because he's not acting like a victim.
Right, exactly.
There
Now,
was no note or anything by the wedding ring.
oh yeah, and Chris found a wedding ring, just to let people know. He found a wedding ring on the nightstand, basically trying to make the story that she left upset and wasn't returning his calls because of that. Yeah. So this scene coming up here, I'll fast forward to it, is one of the more interesting, for me anyway. Other people might not find it interesting, but it's when the detective kind of talks to Chris alone for a minute, and you can just tell the cop just knows.
It didn't look like she went through and packed up a bag or anything.
There's all that in the bottom, so it'd be kind of hard to tell if she took a little bit, or it'd be easy to tell if she took a lot, but it's hard to tell if she took a little bit or not.
Okay. Did she tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, the last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and that's where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today and never heard anything. But cars here.
Right.
Here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her, nobody's seen her.
Right. Who do you guys bank with?
Chasing USA.
So, like, I think what's just really telling about this too is just how Chris is focused on this cop's face or his eyes. Like, he's not really looking around. Like, I feel like I would be frantic looking for any sort of, like, clue, like, I don't know, her favorite shirt or her favorite whatever. And it's just like, but I don't know. I just feel like in this scene, kind of like, I think that's what you're alluding to, saying, like, this is one of your, like, favorites. It's just because, like, how he's acting is, like, it's like he's trying to see if the cop believes him. And he wanted to be away from everybody else just to talk to the cop, and almost trying to, like, I don't know, just, it's just maybe, like, an attempt to say what he wants, like, away from everybody else, just with the cop. And he's, like, really looking hard to see if the cop is buying into, like, what he's saying. I was trying to think, there was something else in there that he said that was really, like, I guess, like, for me, maybe my engineer brain, like, for me, it's, like, logistics. Her car is still here. Her kids need, like, car seats. You can't just go pick someone up with two kids that need car seats. Like, you just can't do that. That's against the law. Like, you're not going to drive anywhere with them. So logistically, like, that doesn't really, like, make a lot of sense. And so, but he's over here just like, oh, but everyone I know, no one's heard from her. And it's like, how have you had time to call everyone you know, like, between whenever you found out about it or whatever? And so I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like there's even more than just I've called everyone we know. It felt like that little, like, anecdote was just there to make himself look better, and not because that was the strongest evidence that, like, no one could have picked her up. Like, she, like, they can't, like, I mean, maybe if they were, like, you know, a few doors down, like, she could have walked there. But I don't know, for me, I'm just like, and even the logistics, like, he's just trying to cover his tracks and not necessarily, like, you know, speaking towards what even makes sense or what's possible.
Right. And plus, I mean, she wouldn't leave her cell phone. She wouldn't, you know, and she wouldn't have, and I don't know. And I think you're absolutely right. I think throughout this whole scene with the police officer, he's just looking for a confirmation. Like, he's just like, I just want you to be like, yeah, that's, you know, blah, 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 or like, that's horrible. And like, you know, or like, this is weird. Like, but there is none. In fact, later on in this scene, you'll see where he's just kind of like, you know, basically, I'm onto you.
Okay, guys, so we actually are going to have to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. We will continue on with this same case with our next video that we'll be uploading shortly. Just for editing purposes, we are splitting them up into parts. Again, thank you if you made it all the way through. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you have been enjoying our first case. Thanks.